There are certain words that have the power to stop your heart mid-beat. For me, it was hearing the word situationship come out of the mouth of the woman I had spent 3 years loving. 3 years of planning a future together, of talking about moving in, of building something I thought was solid. Amanda had just come back from a 2-week solo trip to Austin, and I thought the time away would help her find herself after feeling stuck at work. I never imagined what she would actually find with someone else. I sat across from her at our favorite coffee shop, watching her fidget with her cup, struggling to find words to explain the unexplainable. Before I tell you how I handled the most gut-wrenching conversation of my life, I would love to know where you are watching this from. Drop your city in the comments, hit that like button, and subscribe if you have ever had to choose your self-respect over someone you loved. Trust me, you will want to hear how this plays out. I met Amanda 3 years ago at a concert venue in Portland, where I worked as a sound engineer. She came in with a group of friends, and we ended up talking about music during a break between sets. The chemistry was instant. She had this energy about her, creative and passionate, the kind of person who could talk for hours about things that mattered. Our first date was at Powell's Books, where we wandered around the stacks for what felt like forever, pulling out random titles and reading passages to each other. It sounds cheesy now, but it felt magical then. We built a life together slowly, carefully. Sunday brunches became our thing. We would try new spots around the city, rating their hash browns and debating whether anyone could ever top the blueberry pancakes at our favorite diner on Hawthorne. We took hiking trips to the Columbia River Gorge, spending whole afternoons under waterfalls talking about everything and nothing. Movie nights at my apartment turned into a routine neither of us wanted to break. Amanda worked as a graphic designer, pouring her creativity into projects for clients who did not always appreciate her vision. I loved watching her work, the way her face would light up when an idea clicked. We were both in our late 20s, that age where you start thinking seriously about the future. About a month before her trip, we started talking about moving in together. My lease was coming up, and it seemed like the natural next step. We even looked at a few places, imagining which corner would hold her art supplies and where we would put the couch we had been eyeing at that vintage furniture store downtown. But a few months before that, Amanda started expressing frustration with her work. She felt creatively drained, stuck, dealing with difficult clients who wanted her to copy trends instead of creating something original. She would come home exhausted, not from the work itself, but from the constant creative compromise. She started mentioning travel exploration, finding inspiration somewhere new. I encouraged her. I really did. Take a trip, babe. Clear your head. Do something just for you. So she decided on Austin. 2 weeks in a city known for its thriving art scene, its murals and music and creative energy. It seemed perfect for her, and I was genuinely happy she was going. The day before she left, we had a warm goodbye. She kissed me at the door, said she would miss me, promised we would video call every day. I believed her. The first week went exactly as planned. We video called every evening, and Amanda was genuinely excited to share what she had discovered. She sent me pictures of incredible street murals, talked about the coffee shop she had found, described the live music scene with the kind of enthusiasm I had not heard from her in months. I was happy for her. This was exactly what she needed. But the second week, things shifted. The calls became shorter, less frequent. When we did connect, Amanda seemed distracted, always cutting conversations short with excuses. I am just tired. The signal here is bad. I will call you tomorrow. Beings 5. Planks. Tanned. But tomorrow would come and the call would not. Her texts changed too. Where she used to send me long messages about her day, now I got one-word replies. Cool. Nice. Yeah. I felt uneasy, but kept telling myself she was just busy enjoying herself. That is what I wanted. Right? For her to have a good time. But there was this nagging feeling I could not shake. One night I called her around 10, and she picked up sounding rushed. I am at a gallery opening. Can I call you back? She never did. I stayed up until 2 in the morning waiting, but my phone stayed silent. I started noticing she was posting Instagram stories, but not replying to my messages. Pictures of art installations, food street scenes. And then one story made my stomach drop. It was a group shot at a bar. Amanda, surrounded by people I did not recognize. And there was a guy with his arm casually draped around her shoulder. They looked comfortable together. Todo confortable. I stared at that image for way too long, zooming in like some paranoid detective trying to read meaning into pixels. I told myself it was just friends. People take pictures like that all the time. It does not mean anything, but it did mean something. I just did not know it yet. When Amanda flew back to Portland, I picked her up at my apartment with flowers. I wanted everything to feel normal, to recapture what we had before she left. But the moment she walked in, I knew something had changed. Her hug was not as tight. She did not meet my eyes the same way. We made small talk about her flight about Austin, but there was this distance between us that had not been there 2 weeks ago. That evening, she said the words I had been dreading without knowing I was dreading them. We need to talk. My heart sank into my stomach. Those 4 words have never led anywhere good. The next day we met at the coffee shop that used to feel like ours, the same place where we had spent countless Saturday mornings reading the paper and people watching. Now it felt like foreign territory. Amanda sat across from me, fidgeting with her coffee cup, unable to look me in the eye. I tried to stay calm, even though every instinct was screaming that this was about to go somewhere terrible. What is going on, Amanda? I kept my voice steady, but my hands were shaking under the table. She took a long breath, still not looking at me. I need to be honest with you about something. The pause that followed felt like an eternity. In Austin, I met someone. The world stopped. I mean that literally. The noise of the coffee shop faded into static. The people around us blurred into nothing. All I could hear was the rushing of blood in my ears. It felt like being punched in the chest, while simultaneously having the ground disappear beneath my feet. What do you mean? You met someone. My voice sounded strange. To my own ears, distant and hollow. Amanda finally looked up and I saw guilt written all over her face. We connected. We spent time together. It just happened, Jeff. My brain scrambled to process this. Happened. Like it was some accident. Some force of nature she had no control over. Were we together when this happened? I already knew the answer, but I needed to hear her say it. She looked away again out the window at the street beyond. It is complicated. Those 2 words ignited something in me. What the hell does "it is complicated" mean? I was not yelling, but my voice had an edge I could not control. Amanda shifted in her seat, clearly uncomfortable. We are in a situationship. It is not official, but there is something there. I stared at her, absolutely stunned. A situationship. The word sounded absurd coming out of her mouth. I stared. Amanda, we have been together for 3 years. 3 years. We were talking about moving in together. I know, but I was not looking for this. It just happened. He understands me in ways. She trailed off, unable or unwilling to finish the sentence. In ways I do not. I finished for her. Silence. That silence told me everything. Amanda tried to explain words, tumbling out in a desperate attempt to make me understand. She talked about feeling lost about this guy, Trevor, being a local artist in Austin, about how they had talked about art and dreams and creativity. He makes me feel alive again, she said, and each word was a knife. And I do not. I could feel the pain morphing into anger, hot and sharp in my chest. You are stable, reliable. But lately, I have felt like we are just going through the motions. Her voice was quiet, almost apologetic, but it did not soften the blow. So instead of talking to me about it, you cheated. The word hung between us ugly and undeniable. It is not cheating. We are just figuring things out. Her defensiveness was almost laughable. Almost. Sitting there listening to her try to rationalize her choices, something crystallized in my mind. This was not about me not being enough. This was not about me failing her somehow. This was about Amanda being a coward. She wanted the thrill of something new, the excitement of a fresh connection, but she also wanted the safety net of our relationship. She wanted to keep her options open to have her cake and eat it too. So what are you saying? I leaned forward, forcing her to look at me. You want to see where things go with him, while keeping me on the side. I do not know what I want. I need time to figure it out. She actually said that, like it was a reasonable request. Something shifted inside me in that moment. The pain was still there, throbbing and raw, but it was being overtaken by a cold, clear determination. She could sit there and agonize over her choices all she wanted, but I was done being part of this equation. You know what, Amanda? I stood up and she looked startled. Let me make this simple for you. You do not need time to figure anything out. Jeff, wait. No. You made your choice when you decided to be with someone else while we were together. There it was. Plain and simple. Please, can we are done. 2 words. Final. Her face went pale. What? Just like that. Just like that. I am not going to be your backup plan while you explore your situationship. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. She started to protest, to argue, but I was already walking away. I could not be in that coffee shop for another second. The adrenaline was coursing through my veins, my hands shaking as I pushed through the door. I got in my car and drove straight home, my mind already 3 steps ahead. When I walked back into my apartment, I stopped in the doorway and really looked around. Amanda's stuff was everywhere. Her art supplies were stacked in the corner by the window. Her clothes took up half my closet. Her toiletries were scattered across the bathroom counter. 3 years of shared life woven into every corner of my space. And suddenly, all I could think was that she did not get to keep a foot in both worlds. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. Amanda was at work. She had a key and would probably come by after she finished for the day. That gave me maybe 4 hours. 4 hours to make a decision that felt both impulsive and absolutely necessary. I was not going to let her string me along. I was not going to sit around waiting while she decided whether Trevor the artist was worth giving up what we had. The decision was already made the moment she chose to be with him. Now I just needed to make it clear. I went to the storage closet and pulled out moving boxes I had saved from my last apartment change. I grabbed some large garbage bags from under the kitchen sink, and then I started packing. I began in the bedroom, methodically going through the closet. Her dresses, her jeans, that soft sweater I had bought her last Christmas. Each item brought a memory. The black dress she wore on our first real date. The hoodie she always stole from me before I bought her one of her own. I pushed the emotions down and focused on the task. Fold, pack, move on. The bathroom was next. I gathered her makeup bag, her extensive skincare collection that took up an entire shelf, the hair dryer and straightener she used every morning, her special shampoo that cost 3 times what mine did, the toothbrush in the holder next to mine. Every item was a reminder of how intertwined our lives had become. I moved through the living room, collecting her art books from the shelf, the sketch pads she left on the coffee table, her favorite throw blanket that lived on the couch. In the kitchen, I found her favorite mug, the one with the Portland skyline on it, her special collection of herbal teas that I had never touched, the fancy coffee beans she preferred over my regular grocery store brand. I was thorough. I did not want to leave anything behind, did not want any excuse for her to have to come back. As I packed, I found a photo album wedged between some books. I opened it without thinking and immediately regretted it. Pictures of us laughing, traveling, celebrating birthdays and holidays, We looked so happy. Were we ever really that happy? Or had I been blind to problems that were there all along? For a moment, doubt crept in. Was I overreacting? Was I being too harsh? Should I at least try to work through this? Then I remembered her words. It is complicated. Situationship. I need time to figure it out. No. I closed the album and added it to one of the boxes. My resolve strengthened. This was not about being harsh. This was about having enough self-respect not to be someone's second choice. I packed everything neatly and carefully, not because I cared about making things easy for her, but because I cared about maintaining my own dignity. I was not going to throw her stuff around in anger or damage anything. I was going to be calm, clear, and final. When I finished, there were 3 boxes and 2 large bags lined up neatly by the front door. I looked at them, these physical representations of 3 years reduced to a few containers, and felt a strange sense of calm wash over me. I had made my choice. I had drawn my line. I sat down on the couch and waited, made myself a cup of coffee. My hands were steady now. I checked the time. She would be home in about 30 minutes. The waiting was surreal. I felt oddly peaceful, like I had taken back control of a situation that had been spiraling away from me. This was the right decision. I knew it in my bones. I was not being cruel. I was choosing myself. And that was not something I was going to apologize for. I heard her key in the lock right on schedule. The door opened, and Amanda walked in, already starting to say something about her day. Then she saw the boxes and bags. She froze mid-sentence, her face going pale. What is this? Her voice was barely a whisper. I stood up, my voice calm and steady. Your stuff. I figured since you need time to figure things out, you should do it somewhere else. Jeff, you cannot be serious. I am completely serious. You do not get to have it both ways, Amanda. Where am I supposed to go? There was panic in her voice. Now the reality of consequences hitting her. I do not know. I kept my tone, even not angry, just matter of fact. Maybe Trevor has room. The name landed like a slap. She flinched. Amanda's eyes filled with tears. I never wanted it to end like this. Neither did I. But you ended it the moment you chose to be with someone else. I was not going to let her rewrite this narrative, make herself the victim of my harsh reaction. Can we not just talk about this? She was pleading now, and part of me hated seeing her hurt. But a stronger part of me knew that talking would not change anything. We already did talk. At the coffee shop. Remember, when you told me about your situationship, she tried to argue, saying I was being too harsh, that I did not understand what she was going through, that relationships were complicated. I let her talk herself out. And then I cut through all of it with simple clarity. I understand perfectly. You wanted adventure without consequences. You wanted to explore something new while keeping me as a safety net. But life does not work that way, Amanda. Choices have consequences. I still care about you. Her voice cracked. Then you should have cared enough to respect our relationship. The words were hard, but true. She stood there, tears streaming down her face, and I could see the moment she realized there was nothing left to say. No argument that would change my mind. No appeal to our history that would make me reconsider. I had made my decision, and it was final. She started gathering the bags, her movements slow and defeated. I helped carry the boxes down to her car, not out of lingering affection, but because it was the decent thing to do. We made 2 trips in complete silence. When everything was loaded, we stood by her car for a moment. There was no hug, no final goodbye, no last look of longing. Just 2 people who had run out of road together. She got in her car and drove away. I stood there watching her taillights disappear around the corner, and then I went back inside to an apartment that felt suddenly completely empty. The first few days were strange. I did not cry right away. I was too numb, too caught up in the shock of how quickly everything had unraveled. I went through the motions of normal life. Went to work, came home, ate dinner, went to bed. Friends started reaching out, having heard through the grapevine that Amanda and I had broken up. "You okay, man?" they would ask. And I would say, "I will be," because I did not know what else to say. About a week later, the emotions finally hit me all at once. Anger at her betrayal. Sadness for what we had lost. A deep sense of hurt that someone I loved could treat me as disposable. I let myself feel all of it sitting alone in my apartment on a Saturday night that would have usually been spent with her. But underneath all those painful emotions was something else. Relief. Relief that I had not compromised my self-respect. Relief that I had not begged her to stay or agreed to wait around while she figured out her feelings. Relief that I had chosen myself when it mattered most. I started the work of moving on. I unfollowed Amanda on social media, not out of spite but out of self-preservation. I deleted most of our photos from my phone, though I backed them up somewhere I would not look at them. I was not ready to erase that chapter of my life completely, but I did not need to see it every day either. I rearranged the furniture in my apartment, creating a space that felt new and mine alone. I threw myself into work taking on new projects at the venue that I had been putting off. I reconnected with friends I had neglected during the relationship, started having regular game nights, and going on hiking trips again. I joined a gym and started working out consistently, not to impress anyone, but because it made me feel strong and capable. I picked up my guitar again, something I had let slide over the past year. I started writing songs about the experience, finding it surprisingly therapeutic to turn pain into art. A buddy from work introduced me to a rock climbing gym, and I discovered a whole new community of people. New outlets, new connections, new ways of spending my time that did not revolve around Amanda. About 3 months after the breakup, I ran into a mutual friend at a coffee shop. We chatted for a bit, and eventually she mentioned Amanda. Apparently, the thing with Trevor had not worked out. The situationship had ended after about 2 months, right around the time reality set in, and the novelty wore off. My friend said Amanda had been asking about me, wondering how I was doing. "Doesn't matter anymore," I told her, and I meant it. There was no bitterness in my voice, no anger, just honest indifference. That chapter was closed. 6 months after packing her bags, I found myself in a genuinely better place. I had learned lessons I would carry with me forever. Self-respect is non-negotiable. When someone shows you who they are, believe them the first time. When someone says it is complicated, what they usually mean is they want to have their cake and eat it too. You cannot control other people's choices, only how you respond to them. And sometimes walking away with dignity is far more powerful than fighting for someone who does not value you. I started dating again casually with no rush to jump into anything serious. I was more confident now, more aware of what I deserved and what I would not tolerate. Red flags that I might have overlooked before were impossible to miss now. I had learned what it looked like when someone respected me and what it looked like when they did not. Looking back, I am grateful for the experience, as painful as it was. It taught me a kind of strength I did not know I had. It showed me that I could make hard decisions and stick to them, that I could choose myself even when it hurt, that I could survive heartbreak and come out stronger on the other side. Sometimes the hardest decisions are the ones that set you free. When Amanda walked out of my apartment that day with her bags packed, I was not just ending a relationship. I was choosing a version of myself that refused to be anyone's backup plan. I was stepping into a life where I valued myself enough not to accept less than I deserved. I am dating someone new now, taking it slow and steady. She is nothing like Amanda, and that is probably a good thing. We have different interests, different ways of seeing the world. But there is mutual respect, honest communication, and no games. When I told her about what happened with Amanda, she said something that stuck with me. "You did not just pack her bags. You unpacked yourself from a situation that would have destroyed you. She was right. I could have stayed. I could have waited while Amanda figured out her feelings. I could have competed with Trevor for her attention. I could have begged and pleaded, and tried to convince her I was worth choosing. But none of that would have changed the fundamental truth that she had already made her choice when she decided to start something with someone else. I chose myself instead, and I would make that choice again in a heartbeat. Have you ever had to choose self-respect over someone you loved? Have you ever packed someone's bags or had yours packed? Drop your story in the comments below. And if this resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe for more real stories about navigating the messy parts of life and relationships. Share this with someone who needs to hear that choosing yourself is never the wrong choice. Thank you for listening to my story, and I hope it reminds you that you are worth more than being anyone's maybe. Stay strong out there, and remember that sometimes the best thing you can do for yourself is simply walk away